Hello, and welcome to Clear Waters, where the waters are clear. Man, I have to change that joke. Tonight, we have an interesting title: God and the Science of Human Feel States. What in the world does that mean? I will show you with a live experiment, a live example. Hopefully it works. I prepared that presentation, I don't know, like in 15 minutes. And I could take a day. But anyways, we're showing something. So let me check real quick. Yes, audio is fine on the vertical and on the horizontal. So we're good. The Discord is up and running for anybody that wants to call in. That is the link at the bottom of the screen, and also on the chats. Rainbow Shangri-La, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for the jewels. Appreciate it. So hopefully tonight I'm gonna show you a little video that I prepared. It's like 10-15 seconds long, that is gonna give you just a brief example of what I'm talking about: feel state in human beings and how they work, how we operate. It's a very brief example. It's not supposed to produce a change in you, but it's just for illustration. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Hopefully it works. So if you allow me just a couple of minutes, I'm gonna make sure that this is gonna work. I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean, or an illustration of what I mean by feel states. It seems to me the more and more we talk about this topic, the more and more I analyze this information, I'm coming closer and closer to the conclusion that we might be into something when we talk about humans and how humans operate. Now, why God? Because the example that I'm going to present here in a few minutes has to do exactly about how a human being ends up believing in a God. There's a process, there's a science behind this. But I would say that that's not the most interesting thing. What I see a lot of value in this information that I'm going to present to you is that this applies to everything in life. Everything that you relate to, other people, things, animals, gods, even yourself, your relationship that you have with yourself. Feel states rule, because feel states is the magic, where the magic happens. Thoughts without feel states are just data. Actions are non-existence without feelings, without feel states. So I would think that I would like to understand what are these feel states we're talking about here, because it seems to me, at least to myself, that it's extremely important to know what's going on with you, with myself, at all moments during the day. when we are awake, when we're thinking, when we're feeling, when we are feeling, when we are making decisions, when we're taking actions. What's going on with this internal universe? Sometimes when I have these conversations with believers, I'm trying to bring to their awareness that it is okay to believe in a God. Don't make the mistake of jumping over and avoid understanding yourself as a believer. Because I think the prize is not in the God, it's in you as a believer in understanding what's going on internally. It seems to me. So I'm bringing this information, I'm proposing this view in humanity for people to push back, to try to break it, try to take it apart, trying to find the mistakes, the errors. You know, I'm not fearful, you know, for someone to find mistakes in what I'm proposing, but at least I'm proposing something that is looking to solve a lot of problems in humanity, which I think mostly reside in lacking information, lacking data about ourselves. Once we start to understand how we operate as human beings, it seems to me that we're going to be able to solve most, if not all, I don't know, most of the problems that we currently have in the world. My point of view. So tonight's Friday. I noticed that Fridays not many people join, but it doesn't matter to me. I gotta do what I gotta do. So I'm gonna do a presentation here that whoever joins later or watches the live stream after it's recorded, you're gonna be able to see this. So let's jump to this, and I'm gonna give some instructions. Let me see. Hopefully this works. If it doesn't work the first time, I can do it again. If something breaks, like the audio or something, no biggie, no big deal. I can just play it again, fix it. I did this way too fast, but hopefully it works. So what's gonna happen here in a few minutes, I'm gonna show you a video. And of course, if you're a believer, Rainbow Shangri-La, hope they join Diva and her say and everyone. Yes, it will be interesting if they participate in this experiment that I'm gonna present here in a few minutes. Because at least, I'm not hoping to change anything about anybody, but at least bring up some questions about what's going on with this video. It's something very extremely simple, but I think the message is the most important. So the basic instructions right now is that before I play the video, I'm gonna mute the music. It's gonna be muted, you know, for quite a few seconds. That's done on purpose. The screen is gonna go black. That's done on purpose too, for a number of seconds. And then you're gonna see an image, okay? The only thing that I'm gonna ask you, if you want to participate in the experiment, is that once you see the first image appear on the screen and you hear the music, if you want to participate in the experiment, open your mouth and breathe through your mouth only, not through your nose. That's it. Now there's going to be a second image that is going to appear. Once the second image appears, you're going to do the following. And continue breathing normally through your nose. I call that breath, the one that goes like a alleviation, like everything is good. And then you go back to breathing normally. So it's an experiment, not supposed to change anything. It's just an experiment, and we should take it just like that. Experiment. And what do I mean by feel states? I think that after we go through the experiment, I can answer questions about why the breathing like that, why the images, why what's going on. I think you're pretty much gonna figure it out, but I'm willing to answer any questions. So I think probably Rainbow, you're the only one here on the live stream, but we're gonna do this together. So in case you hear my voice while the video is playing and I give any extra instructions or anything or say anything, just follow along and, you know, normal. And one more time and final time, this is not supposed to change anything. It's just supposed to illustrate. That's it. So. All right. So here we go. I mean, mute the music. Some will show up. I know that people like to join late. I'm trying to limit this live stream to 3 hours. I was lacking sleep because of ending 5-6 hours live streams. No way. So 3 hours I think is good for me. So we're doing 3 hours and people, some people join late. That's fine. I mean, I gotta do again what I gotta do. So, and the interesting thing that is happening lately, I don't know why or how that happened, that the vertical stream, apparently everybody's joining the horizontal stream, which I have no idea why. But everything is set up mainly for the horizontal stream. It's more comfortable for me to make the presentations on the horizontal because of the space that we have available on the horizontal. So let me get ready here for this presentation. I'm taking a little bit of time because I could have spent more time, a little bit more time doing this, but I try to present it. Sometimes I spend 5 hours making a presentation, or maybe I take 5 minutes to make a presentation. This one took me like, I don't know, half an hour because of lack of time. I wish I could spend more time doing more YouTube and making better presentations, but not my main job yet. So, I don't know. I think Rainbow, you are there on the horizontal. Probably if we wait just a few more minutes, just in case someone else joins. It's been 18 minutes since I started live streaming. We can wait like 3 more minutes. I think that that apart from the video, the breathing is just mainly so the person can connect more with the experiment, because there has to be a physical action in order for get more clearly the illustration that I'm gonna make here in a few minutes. This is gonna be a live experiment, live in the live stream experiment. Thank you, Rainbow. Some of them can be possibly good, and some of them are not very good. I have to admit it. You know, sometimes I cannot work on the presentations. Sometimes I have really good ideas to make a presentation, and then I find out that it's gonna take me a day or two to make it. I'm like, no, I cannot do it. So here in a few minutes, I'm gonna show a video that is going to illustrate the feel states relating to God. So if you're a believer or a non-believer and probably would like to understand something about yourself and God, join the live stream and participate in this live experiment that we're going to do here in 2 minutes. I'm going to give the instructions again. I'm going to show you a video. First, the music's going to stop. Second, the screen is going to go dark for a number of seconds, and then you're going to see an image on the screen with some music. If you want to participate in the experiment, which you are not required or obligated to do, and you're not driving or operating any dangerous machine, once you see the first image, you're going to open your mouth and you're going to breathe to your mouth. Once the second image goes up, you do a relief breath and then continue breathing through your mouth. That's the only part of the experiment. If you want to participate, those are the instructions. So here we go. We're going to go through the experiment again one more time. The instructions. I'm going to show a video. Music is going to stop. The screen is going to go dark. In a number of minutes, seconds, you're going to see a video on the screen. Okay? And the music. Once you see the first image, start breathing through your mouth. Once you see the second image, take a relief breath and then continue breathing through your nose until the video ends. That's it. If you want to participate. Here we go. Music stop. The screen is gonna go dark now. I'm still here, but the screen is dark. Remember, you see the first image, you hear the music, start breathing through your mouth. You see the second image, you're going to start breathing through your nose with a relief breath. Here we go. Breathe through your mouth. Breathe through your mouth. This is only an illustration. Breathe through your mouth. You see an image? Hear the music? Breathe through your mouth. Continue breathing through your mouth. Not to scare you, it's just an experiment. And continue breathing through your mouth. Now take a relief breath and start breathing through your nose again. Breathe through your nose and relax. All right, all right. All right. That was the experiment. I don't know. Hopefully, the video showed up fine and you were able to listen to the audio, the music, and my voice and participated in the experiment. What you just witnessed right now in the presentation is how it's just an illustration on how a human being can go from a negative feel state into a positive feel state. Again, this is not supposed to change anything. It's just an illustration. Okay. So, this, what you just witnessed right now, is what happens, in my point of view, in different levels, at different extents with a human being when it comes to God, Jesus, salvation, devil, hell, heaven. All these labels and definitions are just sides on sides of feel states. Some are positive and some are negative. And you are able to move through these feel states in order to take action. So I'm here presenting a way or illustrating a way on how can someone believe in a God or take these same feel states to something like choosing a husband, a wife, a job, move to a country, do different things in life. We move through life not only by data, but by data and feel. That's how we end up taking action as human beings. I'm presenting that as a possibility of how we humans operate. Not with the intent to explain everything and this is the solution to everything in life. No, I think we have to put it to the test first. I would like for people to push back on this. I don't know if you're just joining right now and you didn't see the presentation that I just made a few minutes ago. The live experiment, just go back on the video and participate in the experiment knowing the instructions that I gave. It's not supposed to scare you. It's not supposed to change anything. It's not supposed to make you stop believing or start to make you believing. No, it's only an illustration. So maybe later we can show the video again. And in case someone wants to see it and participate in this illustration on how human feel states work. So with that idea that we have feel states as human beings, I think that puts the belief in God in some kind of predicament, because this could be an explanation and the science behind how we end up believing and feeling that a God is real. Which, you know, I had to admit sometimes that sucks. You know, finding out after all these years that you have thought that there was a God and there was a loving God and now someone can explain it and duplicate it and demonstrate it, I will have to suck, in my point of view. So I'm not really celebrating this. If my offering this theory that I have or this view that I have, I end up being accurate, that's gonna create a lot of problems. Lots of problems. Because for one, the power will go back to the people, away from the esoterics, away from the invisible gods, and go back to the people. You know what that would mean? People making better decisions, taking better choices. Ooh, I think some people are not gonna like that. People being well informed, that's troublesome. I would think that whoever is in power or in control would not like to have human beings that have power, that are well knowledge, are able to take very extremely good decisions. No. I was in power. Keep people stupid as long as possible, man. How in the world am I going to use them and control them if they're all gonna think like me? No. So it's understandable that all the people that like to make money selling God and salvation would not want you to have any power or knowledge that will free you and stop consuming God and stop consuming salvation. That will put a lot of people out of business. Frank Turek, find another job. William Lane Craig, find another job, my friend. No longer people are buying your stories about demons and sacrifices and spirits. Well-informed people are a problem for whoever is in supposedly power and control. How are you going to control the masses if now they have the proper knowledge that they are the ones creating everything? They are the ones bringing things from the invisible to the visible. I don't know. It seems to me that there's absolutely more power in having a human being that has the proper knowledge about himself than just tell them that person, hey, there's a loving God out there. You have to be good. You have to accept the God and you're going to be saved. Very smart. No. There's absolutely no value in that piece of information that there's a God out there that is going to save you from his own punishment. There's no value. There's no value in being punished for eternity. There's no lessons learned. In my point of view, even with Jesus' messages, the negatives are more than the positive. So I think, in my point of view, that God's and Jesus' message goes in detriment to humanity. Thank you, Wendy Kirkland. Thank you for the Yules. Out of Babylon. Oh, let me move this a little bit, half and half. Wendy Kirkland writes, Clearwater, science should say that the universe should not exist, but it does. Scientists had to make up crackpot ideas. The universe appeared from nothing. I think, Wendy Kirkland, that by now I'm quite clear that when a believer says that the universe couldn't come from nothing, it's just like a marketing selfish cliche, you know, just to realign yourself as a believer with the idea that there's a God. But I think it's just getting old. You know, the whole story about the universe couldn't come by itself and something cannot come from nothing. That's just lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. Because if someone say, oh, so it was a God, can it be proof? No, you cannot prove it. Like Ray Comfort says, but you know, the logical impossibility, scientific impossibility, listen to that guy, you know, I don't know. Out of Babylon, God is love that deals with emotions as well. You know, that God is love is your belief. I don't see truth in there. I don't see accuracy in your statement. It seems to me that it's an emotional statement that you say it because it aligns with your belief in the God. It has no value for anyone else but yourself. Say 98, welcome to the live stream. Human beings possess knowledge, but is finite, often flawed, and contrasts sharply with the absolute infinite knowledge of God. While humans can learn about the world, I think your statement is flawed, say 98, I say with respect, because you're talking about God's creation. You're talking about God's creation as being flawed. We are God's creation. Our minds are God's creation. So why are you saying that God made imperfect things that are flawed? It seems to me that this is a contradiction. You're talking about God's creation. You think that this God create broken things that then he has to fix them later? It seems to me that your statement is a contradiction. I think there's way more value to have informed, well-informed human beings than having to trust an invisible God that is waiting to see if you pass the test and he rewards you or punish you forever. I do not like Ray Comfort. I think he's just a person that is making a business, in my point of view. I don't think he's really interested in God or proving God or anything like that. A businessman. Verse 98, true biblical knowledge begins with a relational, reverent awe of God. True biblical knowledge. I think that biblical knowledge, for me, biblical knowledge is just a book that you can read probably about history, or some people say about fantasy. You can get whatever is of value to you and discard anything else. But to take this as the truth about your reality, you're making a huge mistake. Out of Babylon, that is God, clear waters. That is not God out of Babylon. You cannot prove that. So you're betting that God is love, and you learn somewhere to say these things. You learn it. You don't know that God is love. You learn to say these things from somewhere. You heard it somewhere, you read it somewhere, and now you're repeating it because it aligns with what you believe. Out of Babylon, it is only us. We must recognize this. Does anyone genuinely do anything that they hate? I don't understand that question. Verse 98, everyone's statements are flawed, but Javier's. I think you're flawed, Javier. Verse 98, your comment doesn't make sense. You're basically saying, I'm flawed. Why? Because I don't believe what you believe. I'm presenting something that I'm asking people to test it, to try to break it. Let's see if there's something of value there. But what I'm offering, I'm presenting, doesn't align with your belief in a loving God. And that makes you uncomfortable. And you're going to reject it. Huge mistake on your part. So whoever is in power, they're going to be very happy with people like you. Yes. Patty Malarkey, hello. Hopefully you got to see the presentation at the beginning. If you haven't, please go back on the video and participate in the experiment that I just did, because I'm talking about something that, in my point of view, is extremely important. We're talking about humanity and how we, as human beings, take things that are invisible, like a human thought, and bring it to reality. Hersey 98, humble yourself, Javier. Hersey 98, you're the one that is doing this, silly attacks on myself. And you're asking me to humble myself because I'm trying to bring solutions to some problems. Are you serious? You have anything offer other than an invisible God that makes you feel good? Do you have anything of value for anybody? Do you want to offer something new and not something that is thousands of years old that most people know that it doesn't work? Patty Malarkey, no, I'm sorry, I didn't just rewind. Yeah, anyways, if you want, just hang in there. A little bit later, I'm gonna present it again for a second time for people that are just joining. But most of the time, I do my presentations at the beginning of the live stream. If more people join, I'll do the live experiment again, because it's a video that, in order to participate, if you want, you have to follow some instructions in order to illustrate how human field states work. So just hang in there. I'll do it again here in a little bit later. This live stream is going to be a maximum of 3 hours long, so I'll present it sometime in between. A little bit scary, I know, the video, but it's not supposed to scare you. It's supposed to illustrate how human field states work. Patty Malarkey, I'll check him out. I do though, check my page on my community post. I kind of found the question to find stillness. The science. Equation. Okay. Out of Babylon, everything is learned. I don't understand love through words on a paper, but through experience, pain, and loss, like us all. So you learn to say the words, God is love, just because you're repeating them. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Patty Malarkey, can you please clarify? I don't understand your messages. Are you trying to point me to something like a post or something? Phantom X, it's kind of weird to me when the people who say I am special and the creator of all reality thinks I am important enough to suffer and die for, and wants to have a personal relationship with me. Also say you are too proud. You need to humble yourself. Phantom X, that is the irony that you're gonna find in some people, courtesy of the invisible God. But I'm patient. Very patient. Phantom X also writes, also the audacity to say I got it right and all of the people who study reality in intricate detail have it wrong. Say humble yourself. You know, the way I see it, Phantom, I think that Hersey 98, I don't know. Hersey 98 doesn't have to do what I tell her or anybody what anybody tells her. I think it will not be a bad idea if she can do some internal checking, you know, some self-talk, see what's going on in there. Because it seems to me that she's exteriorizing stuff that she cannot see in herself or do not want to see about herself. Ari Malarkey. You have me lost on what you're saying. And you put like one long message and try to explain what you're trying to. You want me to see a post or something? Adi Malarkey writes, well, it's actually impossible for her claims to be true because her ego is too strong. If it was true, she would lead with hers. Are you referring, Patty, are you referring to her say 98 comments? Patty writes, if a dreidel is essentially the total encompassing physical example of how to find stillness and resonance with alignment to source. Whoa, Patty. A little bit confusing to me. Is this... Did you expand on that a little bit more? I don't understand. What are you trying to say with that statement? RSA 98. No, the people in power don't like people like me because I don't go along with their agenda. You seem to fit into their agenda well though, Javier. I can see you as one of their converts turning Christians over to the government. Well, that's your prerogative to see things like that in your opinion. Out of Babylon, again, the word that we agree upon for the emotion is irrelevant. Have you ever cared for, love, desire, thought of someone in high regards, etc.? The shared emotion is what is important. What does it have to do out of Babylon with God? God is love. Phantom X, well, when a hypocrite says, humble yourself and you can become like me, I'm like, nah, I'm good. No. Phantom X at her say 98. At least in the US, the extreme Christian right have the stranglehold on the government. They definitely do not like people like Javier. Thank you so much, Phantom X. Her say 98, wrong Phantom. Phantom X, you can only say that if you are willfully ignorant. I think that Patty, if you're still there, if you can, you know, show another message, expanding a little bit more on that message and that comment that you wrote. A little bit difficult for me to understand what you're trying to say there, or in reference to what. Out of Babylon, God is love. Means nothing to me. Again, something that you read or heard somewhere. Verse 98, Christians do not fit into the American government. What country do you live in? Phantom X, the US. out of Babylon, and if we loved, therefore desire the well-being of, or thought of all in high regard, all evil will go away. We see evil today because God is love and we do not love one another. I think out of Babylon, respectfully, I don't see the mechanics of that. I don't understand the process. In order to understand the process, you have to believe it, and I don't like to do that. I don't think that's really an understanding. I think there's more like a wishful thinking, believing, and not really like substance that you can analyze and study. No. It seems to me that most of these statements are based on emotions, feelings, and not really on something that can be analyzed and take it apart. I think that my structure that I'm trying to offer, to propose, it could be useful, it could be accurate, or it could be wrong. You know, at least I'm trying to propose something. Let's take it apart. Let's try to break it. Let's study, analyze it a little bit to see if it makes sense, to see if it applies really for a human being. And if it doesn't, well, let's go back to the drawing board. But so far, I think that this knowledge about humans gathering information, data, and, you know, assigning it a value through these field states and taking actions based on this data and value, for me, makes a lot of sense and explains a lot of actions of human beings. Instead of just saying God is love, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Rainbow Shangri-La. Kindness is the key to Shangri-La. Kindness is a key for many doors. Phantom X, perhaps you are not aware that MAGA is predominantly Christian and they are the ones that are running the government right now. Verse 98, obviously you're blind to the agenda then. Verse 98, I don't understand. You come from a doctrine, a religious doctrine. What is my doctrine apart from asking questions and trying to propose different views and an understanding about human mechanics, you know? Your thoughts are not your own. You're getting someone else's thought and you pretend that they're yours. You're just believing what other people are telling you and taking this information as if it was accurate and real. Out of Babylon, name one thing that you do that you utterly hate then. Something that I hate. I don't like lying. It's not that I don't hate anything, but I truly don't enjoy lying. It makes me feel, you know, uncomfortable. Out of Babylon, have you ever loved anyone, your mom, dad, anytime? For the purpose of the conversation and to have a, you know, free conversation, yes. But you're not gonna get two people to agree on what love is. Phantom X, their agenda is Christian nationalism. If you're talking about some secret agenda, you're just speaking in conspiracy theories that are propped up to protect your vision of what Christianity is. Diva, don't play. If you guys didn't see the video that I show at the beginning, I'm gonna show that video again here in a few minutes because it's an illustration. It's a very, you know, basic illustration on how the process of moving from one field state to another works. Out of Babylon, what are you looking for God to be? I don't even know if there's a God. Why would I be putting labels to something that I don't know if exists or no, or not? So I think you're asking the question like, What are you looking for God to be? It's like, what do you want the character in the book to be? I don't know. I cannot change the character. The character is the character in the book. I wanna make the God, I don't know, something else from what is in the book. Describe the character in the book. I'm not aware of a God. Phantom X falsifiable. Okay, the Phantom X is responding to your question out of Babylon. What does Phantom X want from God? To be falsifiable. Nice. There's a 98. America is currently heading in the wrong direction. We the people don't want a dictatorship. I suspect her say 98 that as long as people are adapting themselves from other people's doctrines and beliefs, you're never gonna be something original. You're never gonna come up with your own thoughts and conclusions. You're gonna be always a follower. It seems to me. So you're always gonna follow someone else. There's gonna people, you know, with the independent thought and trying to come up with different ideas and solutions like myself. Probably I'm being silly, naive, but at least I'm trying. Out of Babylon, he is love, light, spirit, life, proven by words, apps, actions. Out of Babylon, that's my answer. God is love, God is light. Sounds to me that you heard these words somewhere and you're just repeating them. You don't know these things. Probably you read them in a book. Probably you heard those words in a church, or maybe someone else saying them. If the words felt good, they make sense to you, and you now repeat those words like if they were accurate and real, which we know they're not. Phantom X, on that we can agree. However, those currently in power will not have gotten there except by their Christian rhetoric. Verse 98, get real, Javier. You seem to know a lot about someone who you know nothing about. Verse 98, I think by your words and your comments, you say a lot about yourself. So I don't have to know you personally. And if you're saying that, then why are you saying the things about me if you don't know me personally? So you seems to be very okay saying things about me without knowing me. And now you get uncomfortable me saying things about you. Out of Babylon, do you constantly lie? Nope. Nope, I don't like lying. And I don't like people lying to me. I dislike it. I don't like it. Out of Babylon, that's the point, Clearwaters. Love for me is different to you. Yeah, I can understand that. So when you say that God is love, whose love and which love? And which God, by the way? Hersey 98, just because someone says they are a Christian doesn't make them a Christian. And also you can add to that, that someone says that they're a Christian doesn't mean that they're a good person. Diva don't play. 1 Corinthians, for the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. Yeah, Diva don't play. I understand that, but for me, there's no value in those words. Nothing. They don't make me feel good. I think if I would accept those words, you know, I will shrink. My mind will shrink. Verse 98, I don't think MAGA is Christian at all. Trump think he's a god himself, so I wouldn't say he's a Christian. You know, verse 98, even if Trump thinks that he's a god or not, I think he's affecting a lot of people in positive and negative ways. And also, he's in power. All those things that I just described seems to me that they should not be happening in the year 2026. Nobody, including any members of the government, should be defined as someone that is on power. Because if someone is in power, someone else has no power. And that no power comes from ignorance, from followers, from people that get into doctrines. Never are going to propose anything new when you are under a doctrine. That's one of the other things that I don't like from religious beliefs and believers. Instead of taking actions about things and coming up with solutions, they will do the cop-out, which is praying. Let's pray to the invisible God to solve the problems, to take care of the president, to do things, to do that. And that's why over thousands of years, things get worse. Pantomex writes, 1 Corinthians 1:18, Lo, the dogmatist mocketh the light of reason as folly, yet he boweth to an instrument of death. But to them that walk in liberty, the search for truth is power, and credulity is true madness. Pantomex also writes, Proverbs 28:13, verily, he that heedeth his errors from the light of scrutiny shall stumble in darkness, but who layeth his mistakes bare before the bar of reason and amendeth his path findeth wisdom. Wow. And of course, Phantomex also writes, James 4:6, yeah, the tyrant demandeth that man grovel in the dust, calling submission virtue. But nature exalteth the upright mind that looketh upon the heavens with bold inquiry. Let's check in. Out of Babylon writes, in love there is but one rule, do not harm. All is lawful to do because you are God, but everything is not profitable just because we can do it. What that means. Tech and Fan, if God and love mean the exact same thing, the statement is a meaningless circle. It is like saying a bachelor is an unmarried man. It tells us nothing about God's actual existence or character. Professor Hissel, welcome to the live stream. Verse 98 describes the scoffer as haughty and acting with arrogant pride. They are closed off to reason and unwillingly to admit they are wrong. Verse 98 continues, because of their pride, they seek wisdom in vain and despise instructions. Proverbs 15:12 notes that they are actively avoid the wise to escape correction. Well, a lot of Bible verses tonight. All right, I'm going to show this video for the second time. Please do not participate in the experiment that I'm going to show you on the screen right now. If you're driving or operating dangerous machines, I'm going to shut down the music. You're going to see the dark screen for a few seconds, and then you're going to see an image showing up on the screen with some music. Once the first image show up with the music, start breathing through your mouth. Once the second image shows up and the music changes, you take a deep relief breath and start breathing through your nose normally. Those are the only instructions. It's just an illustration. It's not supposed to scare you or to change anything in yourself. So here we go for the second time, and last time I showed this video as a little experiment and illustration on how human field states work when it comes to God. It's just an illustration. So the music stops. The screen goes dark. And then you're gonna see the image and you're gonna start breathing through your nose. I'm sorry, through your mouth. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you start breathing through your mouth. Breathe through your mouth. Breathe through your mouth. This is not to scare you. It's an illustration. Breathe through your mouth. And continue breathing through your mouth. This is just an illustration. Breathe through your mouth. Continue breathing through your mouth. The image is moving. Continue breathing through your mouth. Take a relief breath right now. Relief, and now breathe through your nose normally. And just relax. You're safe. Nothing happened. It's just an illustration. You're good. You're here. And that's it. That's the little experiment or illustration on how a field state works. Of course, again, this is just an illustration, but in real life, it works in different levels, different extents, and will all range of different things. This not only applies to God, it applies to relationships, government, animals, objects, anything that we interact with. Hopefully the audio was there and you were able to listen to the music or the sounds. If you're able to understand this process of how we change between one field state to the other, Probably we're gonna be able to help people step out from trauma, tragedies, get people out of cults. People have more control of their lives. Probably be more well informed about themselves. Probably would help people understand about self-sabotage. Help people to take better decisions and not just follow for scams, cults, again, doctrines. Help people to understand more, not to be all the time in all their lives followers. They can be their own leaders. They don't have to feel dirty about themselves, feel like sinners, and find solutions to their problems via another person outside of themselves, especially invisible gods. This, I think, there's value in this information about human feel states because it would help kids understand their feelings and how and why and how they feel the way they feel. If anybody is kind enough just to tell me if the video that I presented you were able to hear the music, because I did this video very fast and I don't know if the audio was playing. Diva, don't play Ecclesiastes 12, 13, 14. Let us hear the conclusion of this whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment. You know, I can see a feel state right there. Fear God. Yeah, move yourself into the negative feel state so the same God can bring you back to the good feel state. That's why I say David Martinez, the video that shows the demon and Jesus had no music. Yeah, tech and fun. Yeah, there's feel states on the God information. Apparently, whoever wrote the book knows about human feel states. Fear the God and love the God. All right, let me try one more time to show the video, and I'm gonna do something here. Probably bring the audio up. Here we go. One more time. Nope. I gotta fix the audio. Give me just one moment. It broke. Hold on. Yeah, my live stream on YouTube got stuck for a moment there. Let me see if I can fix the audio. Give me just one moment. Give me just one moment. All right. Breathe into your mouth. Breathe into your mouth. Breathe through your mouth. Breathe through your mouth. This is just an illustration. Breathe through your mouth. And now we take a relief breath and breathe through our mouth. Knowing that everything is just fine, we're here right now. Everything is good. All right, all right. All right, all right. That was my illustration. You know, changing field state, human field states. Illustration on how we human beings gather data. We attach value to data or information. We see the value. We feel the information and we take action on the information based on how we feel. And that's how we end up believing in a God. That explains why the God feels real. That explains why you cannot demonstrate the God to anybody. You cannot point to the God, but it feels real. Because you went through a process that all humans being goes through. And that's how somehow we are able to create or to bring something from the invisible to the visible, like a thought. You cannot see a thought. But if you attach value to this information that you have in your head, you can bring it to reality. You can bring the God into existence by gathering the knowledge, the information, connecting it to one of your negative field states and move it into a positive field state, and voila, the God is real. Thank you, David Martinez, and thank you, Rainbow, for giving me the feedback. Hopefully that last time I showed that video, the audio played. I did that video like in 15 minutes, something real quick. Maybe I can come up with something more hypnotic, more full of field states. But it's just to illustrate how this changes in field state in human beings work. Hersey 98, no one seems to be interested in your video. Probably not right now, Hersey 98. Something tells me that this information is going to be of value sometime in the near future. Second fun is like attaching value to currency. Exactly. That's a good example. Like Bitcoin is nothing, but we assign value to it, and then suddenly, voila, it costs right now $67,000, $62,000. That's what we humans do. Assign value to data. And then we take action on that data based on how we feel about it. So anybody that starts writing over and over Bible verses is because they feel that the God is real, but they are not able to demonstrate it to anybody because of these few states. Second fan, oh, thank you for confirming. And thank you, Rainbow, for confirming that the music was there now. It was important for me because these live streams are recorded, and then, you know, people are going to be able to hear the music. It's important to hear the music. Diva, don't play a Tekken fan. If you're right now are still active, unrepentant, unforgiven sinner, you should be completely full of the fear of the Lord. So, second fan, basically what Diva is telling you, you know, in order to participate in salvation, you have to accept the information and put yourself in a negative feel state in order for the same book provide you with the potential for a good feel state, and you take action on the same God that provided you with the negative feel state. So the whole Bible is just a playground of feel states. This is like the Matrix. Once you recognize the game inside the book of making you feel bad, making you feel good, making you feel bad, making you feel good, you see what's behind it. Yeah. And probably you can liberate yourself from this, the chains of a doctrine. Probably you can get out of the cold. I'm not saying with this that there's no God out there. But once your mind is more clearer, and you can think more clearly without the pressures of being fearful of the God and being attracted by the rewards of the God, emotional rewards, you can think more clearly. Right now, you're drunken in God's love, you know, attracted by this God's love based on the fear that the God injects in you. Pure feel states, my friend, based on the data on the book. Once you start to understand this, it's really hard to unsee it and to ununderstand it. You're going to see the game. It's just a matter of time when you start connecting the dots. Like, wait a second. Why do I have to fear the God? Sounds to me like this is what that guy Clearwaters is referring to. Put myself in a negative feel state in order for what? For the same God to offer me the solution, the medicine, the salvation for his punishment that is producing the negative feel state. And who is this God? It's playing with my emotions, with my feelings, and it's taking me to take action in the direction of the God. What for? There could be a God out there. I don't think it's the God of the Bible because it's full of feel states everywhere in the book. That's how you can tell that the God is not real. Go check out Chulum. No feel states. Zero. No emotional benefits. No fear, no punishment, no reward, nothing. That's how can you tell that the God is real. If the God is grabbing you by, you know what, by your emotions, your feelings, that's not a God. Yep. So you could be missing on the real God because you were persuaded for some reason into believing that this crappy God from this crappy book, full of control and emotional control, is the real God. I don't know what happened in your life that you ended up believing that this God was real. But if it makes you happy, you do it, man. You do it. But if you tell people, hey, Javier, you don't understand, God is love. Yeah, sure, God is love. Sure, God is love. Mr. Justin V, welcome to the live stream. Happy to have you here. Diva, don't play. Javier, we don't have to demonstrate it. You already know Jesus Christ is true. You just suppress this truth in your unrighteousness. Diva, don't play. You know that Shulam is real. You're just for some reason upset. Probably because you're not getting emotional benefits from Chulum. But you know deep in your heart that Chulum is the right God. Because no God should be offering emotional benefits or, punishing you or playing with your feelings. No. Deep in your heart, you know that Chulum is the right God. But it's just a matter of time when you come to that conclusion. You know that Chulum is the right God. Second fan, I'd rather be a godless heathen ROFL. Diva, don't play. Javier, I have been made born again by personally receiving the Holy Spirit. I don't have to fear God's punishment anymore because I'm in right relationship with Him now. Let me take a deep breath. Ah, man, I gotta drink some water. It seems to me, Diva, that you had an experience, again, I have said this before, with something that you cannot explain, okay? But because you had the previous information and the data about some God, that you got from a book, you found value in this information. You attach your value to this information, and that's how, for some reason, something that I don't understand very well, when you have changes of field states, there's some magic that happened there. You can bring a negative feeling into a positive one through that process. So it seems to me that if you decided to end it there, close it, seal it, and just label it as being God, that's your choice, that's your prerogative. I don't see it that way. I don't see a God doing this work for you, especially the God of the Bible. I don't see it. So that's something that probably you're going to take with yourself and do whatever you want with that information. I don't think your personal experience is of value for anyone else. Out of Babylon, God is love, and He has an eternity for us to find out what this means and return unto Him. So God made us, push us away, and tell us to get back to Him and find Him while He's invisible. So we are like a human JoJo. He throws us and we're supposed to come back to Him. What for? God has nothing to do. And wasn't He supposed to be immutable? He doesn't change. But then He's interacting with us. Screwed up to another level. If I don't play a Tekken fan, actually our side is true liberation, true freedom from sin and eternal hellfire. I think, Diva, this is something that is very, extremely personal and selfish. This is you and God. This is something to you. This is something that is not for anybody else. I don't see the value for anyone else but yourself. And someone probably that are so involved with themselves, probably you can convince them to get something out of that goodness that you got to feel when supposedly God touched you. But I don't see anything of value for humanity there. Out of Babylon, all we find All will find salvation. It is the merchants that have you believing otherwise. So basically, we all gonna find salvation from God's punishment. So we can go back to God and free ourselves from his separation. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. It seems to me that I have to shut down my critical thinking in order to make space for the God, in order to allow the goodies. Give me the feel good God. I already shut down. I brought the requirements for evidence. I brought them down from 100% to 20%. So jump in, God, and give me my goodies. I want to feel good. Oh, yes, the Holy Spirit. Oh, give me the Holy Spirit. I need my fix of Holy Spirit tonight. No. Mr. Oh boy. Diva's hitting the pipe as usual. Oh. Oh man, what's up, oh boy? Some of these comments, man, make me laugh. Oh man, Mr. Tekken fan, you believe in sin that causes fear, Diva. Doesn't sound like liberation. Sounds more like a emotional game. Versailles 98, Clearwaters, welcome to the comedy show. Oh boy, gobble, 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 gobble. One of us. One of us. I don't know. Just in case if you're arriving to the live stream right now, there's a video that you're going to see like 3 times. It shows like a demon. It shows Jesus. The third time that I show, I didn't know that the previous ones didn't have audio. So if you're able to find that video, go watch it because it's an illustration of on how this human feel states work. When it comes to God, it's just an illustration. You're not supposed to feel anything. And how, trying to explain how we end up believing in a God and why, how the God feels real. Even when we don't know if the God is real, but it's based on data and how the data feels to you because of whatever reason, because it makes sense, it convinces you, because it makes you feel good. It gives meaning to your life. It explains things in your life. It gives you a heading in your life. Whatever you come up with as a conclusion that you believe in God, most likely is going to be related directly to how you feel about yourself. We're not talking about a God here. We're talking about you and your feelings, which in my point of view, I know this sounds absolutely crazy what I'm gonna say, and probably this is not the first time you've heard this from me. It seems to me that for a human being, when it comes to the mechanics of human beings, seems to me that energy that I call feel has to be the most important aspect of the human being. There is something about this energy that works like magic, because that's how you're gonna be able to bring something from invisibility to the visual. Bring it to this world. Create it. Make it. Move. explore, and discover. It seems to me that life wants us to continue moving for some reason, and life made this design or this program in us that we take data that we found down here, we assign value to that data, we connect this energy, and that energy clicks, brings it to reality. And we go through life feeling things, feeling your way to point A to point B. You have your spouse. If you don't feel anything for your spouse disappears. It's not the data, it's the feel with the data. Data by itself doesn't do it. That explains why two people hear that God is love, or person A, oh, that makes sense. It makes me feel good. God is loving, God is real. For the other person, it's like, nope, I don't feel anything. I don't believe in the God. I don't think it's real. It's not the data, it's the feeling. Feeling is gonna take you to take action on anything. The data by itself, it won't. So when it comes to God, and you believe that God is real, you don't have a God in your life. You have data of a God in your life that you took from a book that someone else told you about. You have information, you have data. You do not have a God. And you base your belief on the data, not the God. So someone tells you, well, can you point to where this God is? No, I cannot point to it. Can you demonstrate something? No, I cannot demonstrate. Ooh. It's a little bit difficult then. Are you telling me that someone else told you that there's a God? Yeah, someone tell me, but I believe that the God is real. But what made you decide that by someone else telling you that the God is real is real? Well, because of the evidence. What evidence? Well, the resurrection of Jesus. But you were not there, but I believe. Okay, I'm noticing a pattern here. It seems to me that this information makes sense to you. That's it. No God. No God involved. Just data. Take that to anything in your life. Waking up in the morning to go to work, you open your eyes and you're like, I'm gonna stay in bed this morning because it feels warm to me, it feels good. I'm gonna stay here, I'm gonna go with the feel good. But wait a minute, if I don't go to work this morning, they're gonna fire me, and if they fire me, I'm not gonna have money to pay the rent, and I'm not gonna have money to pay for food, and that doesn't feel good right now where I'm sitting on my bed right now. So I think that the good feeling that I'm getting from my warm bed is not enough to cover the feel bad from getting fired, have no money for food. So I'm gonna take an action towards feeling good. Same applies with the God. So Allah, data, no God. There are some people that defend their belief of Allah. They take it to another level because their entire life identity depends in their emotionality that is attached to the information of the God. Believing in God has nothing to do with believing in gods. We're talking about you as something that is doing something on this earth for some purpose that I'm trying to understand. You're like a Land Rover. You're collecting information. When you find value, move towards this information and you take it into the big network or something else to collect this information. Probably we're being used to collect information. This is our purpose in life. And we're mistakenly thinking that we are the most important thing in this God's entirety life. We are the most loved one. No, it doesn't seem like that. It seems that we're being used by something else to collect information and experiences. For what? Maybe if there's a God, this God is looking for a way out in all levels of life. From the minute, from the atom to the planets. I cannot believe that I am the only God. There's no other gods in nowhere. I'm gonna take myself apart in millions and trillions and quintillion pieces, and I'm gonna gather information. Or win a game. I don't know. Even sometimes the thought, when I sit down and think about being alive for eternity, I'm like, man, I don't know why that scares me sometimes. You know, being eternal could sound at some point in time that I'll find out myself inside a box. Once you have lived life, you know, for trillions and trillions and quintillions and infinite numbers of times, you have been through all corners of the universe. You know everything. You're like, wait a second, the universe is a box. What am I doing here? Even if you find yourself in heaven for eternity, I think there's going to be one point in time you're going to be like, man, my legs are hurting. My knees are hurting from worshiping God. I'm kind of getting tired after 10,000 years of being on your knees. Even if you're floating on a cloud, enjoying yourself for 300 million years, you're like, wait a second, I'm starting to get a little bit bored in this cloud and flying around in eternity for, being happy all the time. Is there anything else? Can I drink coffee somewhere? I don't know. Even the whole idea of God's salvation and saving you for eternity, and you're going to be in heaven for eternity doing I don't know what, makes me think. The whole idea of God, of the Bible being real, I would put it in the section of almost having some kind of emotional problem. Because if you were not to the point to push back on other people just because you feel uncomfortable, people asking questions about your God, it seems to me that you're way too attached to the idea of the loving God. Way too attached. You're way too dependent on the idea of God. And I think that's dangerous. In my humble point of view. Diva Martinez writes, the fathers of the church understood this and used it. David Martinez, I think your comment is very accurate. It seems to me that not only the fathers of the church, it seems to me that people in positions of power know this. And that's how they take advantage of people that do not have this information. We are the ones sustaining any failing system. We continue doing it year over year over year over year. All the elections happen thanks to us. And then we complain by whoever is in power. How does that happen if it's not because someone else has something that they know that we don't know? I have learned in my life at my age that whatever I do when it comes to competition, tennis, basketball, whatever it is, big part of me not being at the level of another person, it comes to knowledge. They know something I don't know. Probably some strategies, techniques, how do people work with muscle memory, stuff like that. I think I'm lacking information, and that explains why I'm not at the level of this person. So when it comes to politics, some of these people know things that we don't know. And that's how they work at other levels that we do not understand and we're not capable to understand because we're too busy thinking about some invisible God, and they're not doing that. They are taking action. They are taking care of business while other people are praying. This is how silly this thing about God is. That's why I'm saying, you want to believe in the God of the Bible, take it to your room. Take it inside your closet or somewhere that nobody hears about it. Because the more people get involved with this invisible God, the weaker we are as human beings. And more people can be in power. The ones that are up there that know about this information, I don't think they're on their knees praying all the time. I don't think they're doing that. The difference from bad people in some governments, in some countries, from good people, is that the bad people are taking action while the good people are on their knees praying. It's a problem. It's a problem. Mr. Skeptic Philosophy, welcome to the live stream. We're talking about this problematic of believing in gods openly and pushingly, which seems to me that is not beneficial for humanity. It will be better if we understand more about ourselves, how we operate, how we function, how we take decisions, and especially why we feel about how we feel. Hence, yes. Which the feeling part is what gets us into trouble. You know, whatever problem we have right now in life, health-wise, is the problem is not the health problem, it's how you feel about the health problem. If we have economical problems, the problem is not the economical problem. The problem is how you feel about your economical problem. I'm not gonna say anything. Yeah, if you have relationship problems right now with your spouse, the problem is not your spouse. The problem is not the relationship problem. The problem is how you feel about it. That's what's giving you the problem. It's the feel. It's the feel. And the crazy thing about it is that most people avoid this conversation about what I think is the most important thing in your life. If you're going to love someone, if you're going to love your spouse, you have to go through one door. You're not capable of reaching your spouse, your wife, your boyfriend, husband, girlfriend. You must go through this door. And it's your feelings. We see life and we interact with people through the lenses of our feelings. You as a human being, I don't think ever you're gonna get without your feelings. You're gonna get away with them. If you're not feeling anything about a specific subject, you're not moving toward that subject. That explains why you could be You can love your wife, I don't know, for 20 years. And suddenly one day you wake up and you're like, you know what? I don't love my wife anymore. But wait a second. That is still the same person. Something else changed. She's the same. The feeling changed. The action of loving that person is no longer there. The data is still there. She's still there, but the feeling is not. You don't find any more value in being with this person, so you detach and you no longer take action towards this person. It seems to me that if you find yourself having problems, relationship problems with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, your husband, I think the real analysis and probably the core of the problem, or not even the core of the problem, but the solution is not outside of yourself. It's in the analyzing what's going on with your field states, your data. What data do you have about this person? Is it accurate? Or you have some data that you're thinking that is not accurate? What field state are you connecting this data to in order to find value? Are you able to disconnect some of these values from this data in order to move away from this person and continue with your life? I think you have better chance to solve your relationship problems by analyzing this information than praying to a God, invisible God, in order to fix your marriage or your emotional problems in relationship to your God, to your spouse. Or you can do it either way. Do it through the God, maybe works by praying. Or do it through an understanding about yourself, about your relationship with yourself. And probably you will be able to understand your relationship with another person by understanding yourself. And you will find out, you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't feel like a victim anymore. Like she was juicing me or to cheat on me or whatever. No, suddenly you own the problem, you take it apart, and guess what? Who you find behind the problem? Yourself. Rainbow Shangri-La, I know all about those problems when my husband abandoned me for another woman. Oh, Rainbow, I know it's tough. I know it's tough, but I think that if we are not in contact or knowledgeable about ourselves, we can put ourselves, because of our lack of knowledge, in situations and probably constantly put ourselves in situations that are of not beneficial for ourselves. In my point of view, I don't know if that makes sense. Relationship problems, man. I don't know about you, but they can be very, very heavy, very deep, and very energy consuming. Whoa. You know, I think that this energy thingy that I'm talking about, imagine that people are capable to take absolutely crazy actions just because how they feel towards another person. Excuse me for a second. Aló. Sí, Jesús. Ah, sí, ¿qué pasó, Jesús? ¿Cómo estás? Sí, correcto. En 350. Yo le puse baño y le puse cocinita. Sí, y está bien bonito. ¿Estabas interesado tú? Pero ahora o mañana. Incluso yo ahorita estoy haciendo un live stream. Déjame que termino a las 10. Te llamo cuando termino. Incluso yo estoy hablando en el live stream ahorita. Oh. 300, chuchi. Eh, sí. Incluso, Jesús, te lo quisiera mostrar ahorita, pero ahorita estoy. Te prendo la cámara y estoy en el live stream ahorita. Eh, te dejo la llave afuera, pues. Entra por atrás, por atrás. Dale, dale. Incluso déjame pensarlo porque yo ni siquiera lo he puesto en anuncio. Dale. Guys, I have someone at my door right now. Hold on, I'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, all right. I'm not gonna say anything to believers, okay? But there's a cross on my wall behind me. I just noticed that. You're gonna say, "Oh, you see, Javier, you see, Jesus is trying to communicate with you." And this is gonna be extremely funny. Extremely funny. You notice that I just got a call right now, okay? You know the guy's name that called me right now? What's his name? His name is Jesus. That is absolutely crazy. That's one of those synchronization thingies. Or maybe Jesus is trying to communicate with me. I don't know. But definitely, a guy named Jesus called me on the phone right now. So that is interesting. I don't know where that image on the back came from. So 2 hours of live stream right now. We're gonna have 1 more hour at the most of the live stream. So for anybody that wants to call in and have a conversation about this human field state, you know, if you're a believer, this is not a debate. This is a conversation. I think we had a nice conversation yesterday with Chris and Mason. Mason also, I think it was Gudra was in that conversation and Crypto Lee also. So I prefer to have conversations and you can believe in the God and you can tell me about the God. You know, I'm not gonna push back on that or make you feel bad or try to prove that God is not real. No. I'm more interested in having the conversations about the human being. I think we probably can come up with something good. Or maybe this whole thing about human field states is just pure, I don't know, something that doesn't work. But it seems to me right now that it does. Rainbow Shangri-La. I know all about those problems when... Okay, I read that one, sorry. That's so funny. What? About Jesus calling me? I'm not lying. This is not a joke. I'm serious. Guy, I know this guy for a very long time, and he was just calling me right now. That is crazy. So, yeah, you can even you can call me if you want, and we can talk about not necessarily about human field states in relationship to God. We can talk about it in relationship to relationships. You know, probably if you're going through a situation right now, we can talk about it. I don't feel like an expert in any of this stuff, but I can speak with people, talk with people. You know, probably some people need to talk to someone else. Sorry, we're doing it on a live stream. You know, you don't have to give details, but probably other people can watch and listen to this and probably, you know, what? Oh, I never thought about that. We're trying to find solutions to some of the problems that we have in this life, which I don't know about you, but for me, man, things can get very complicated emotionally, you know, health, relationship, money. Gets complicated. My initial idea of having this channel, I'm like, man, in the mornings, I'm going to do my exercise. I'm going to do videos about exercise. I do some weird routines that I do. I'm going to talk about money in the afternoon, you know, talking about trading and whatever I'm doing right now, and how I lost lots of money through the years with really bad businesses so you don't make the same mistakes as I did. I'm paying for it right now. And then maybe at nighttime I can talk about, you know, this stuff that I have this idea about field states and how we process information. But it hasn't worked out that way because busy doing all the stuff and working mainly. So tonight is Friday night. I should be out, going out, doing something. Nah, I don't like to go out at night too much. Not now. Before I used to like it. Go dancing, you know, go to restaurants. No, not anymore. I prefer to stay at home. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. If you want to call in, there's a Discord link at the bottom of the screen. Also, the link is on the chats. You can just click on it and it will open the Discord website where you can call me right now and ask me any questions. Or let's put to the test this thingy about human field states and how we process information. Javier, I think you're wrong because this scenario, that doesn't apply. Well, let's take it apart and see if it applies or not. I've been listening to people and doctors talking about the gut health and how that can affect the person's moods and how they feel. I found that interesting because that not necessarily is data and it's affecting directly how you feel. So we gotta take this human field states thing a little bit more in depth, analyze it a little bit more to see if there's value in this information or not. I still have questions. I still have things that I have to, you know, figure out still. So I don't hold the truth about anything. The only truth that I hold, my truth, is that I know little about life. Way too little. Making mistakes, living life, making mistakes, making the corrections, made the mistake again, and oh boy, I have done a lot of mistakes in my life. I tell you. I think that by now I should have been at least a millionaire. Um, and that's not the case, not even close. Did businesses, took my risks, push, make decisions, made the wrong decisions, having the wrong data. Now that I look back, I'm like, man, wish I have this thing about understanding about human field states. Probably I would have made better decisions 20 years ago. I don't know. Probably I will be, I don't know, some other part of the world flying in my own private jet. I don't fly, but I do. I don't know, or on my own jet or something. But it hasn't worked that way. Not yet. But we're working on it. Make life better. As long as we're healthy, we can take decisions, we can make choices, we can try different things, we can continue moving, we can continue exploring and discovering and taking care of things, in my point of view. Man, those chats are extremely quiet. It's either, I don't know, I see people on the live streams, people listening to me, or I don't know, doing other things. I don't know. But I keep talking, or or just call it quits because it's Friday night. Excuse me. And I was feeling that I was getting a cold or something past few days. But not quite. Not quite. God and the science of human field states. When I tell ChatGPT about some of these titles that I want to put on the live stream, ChatGPT is like, what do you mean by that? No, ChatGPT doesn't respond that. ChatGPT is like, oh, nice. What do you mean by that? Then ChatGPT catches up real quick and makes suggestions, make changes. So most of the stuff that you see as images, words and stuff like that is pretty much ChatGPT taking an idea that I present. For example, the images, I tell ChatGPT what to show and give it a basic idea, and then ChatGPT in 2 or 3 attempts comes up with the closest thing to the image that I want. And then when it comes to the titles and the information that you see on the videos as the presentation, it's me doing the presentation, turning it to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT corrects the grammar, or improves the idea to a way that is more understandable than the way I presented it. Most of the time is grammar because I write English very incorrectly. Spanish too, but I think English more. So God and the science of human field states. I think, I don't know, sometime I would like to take the God out of that title and just talk about science of human field states. I think I would like for this information to go out there. I don't know, to some people, some professionals that can take it apart and see the value, if there is value in this information, which I think it is. There is value. But that's just my point of view. I cannot be the presenter of this idea and also the evaluator to see if there's value in a professional way. I don't know if you understand or I'm explaining myself of what I'm meaning by that. But I'm presenting this, I don't know what you want to call it, theory or idea, or I'm proposing this as a way to explain human behavior, which, I repeat, if I'm accurate about this thing about field states, man, we're gonna be talking, with the high rollers and some of these people, what's some of their names? Philosophers and man, I can come up with any names. Nope. Not any names come to my mind at this moment. That guy that came up with the, if I can remember his name. Oh, Darwin. I'm gonna be competing with Darwin with his theory of evolution. I'm gonna present my theory of human field states. Maybe probably there's more value in the theory of human field states than the theory of evolution. That people, there's not much you can do with it, with the theory of evolution, but you can do something understanding about why you feel the way you feel. Imagine yourself going through a situation like a breakup, a relationship, and then you getting this information about human field states, going inside with it, and you're like, you know what? The breakup feels different. I feel like more in control because I understand what's going on. It's nothing external. It's just data that I'm getting and the changes and feelings that happening internal. So if I don't connect, I don't find value in this breakup because it's no longer of advantage for the both of us. I disconnect, no longer attach value to this information and just press on with my life and probably find another spouse and not waste my time being sad about this person that doesn't want to be with me. There's possibility of value in that information. Or maybe you're getting to a breakup with someone and then you get on your knees and start praying that God makes you feel better. That one works for you. It could. I know that it works for some people. I prefer the option number one of having that understanding because you can take it anywhere. You're not dependent on the God being upset at you or not. You're depending on yourself, having the knowledge and know what to do, in my humble opinion. So, science of human field state, when I was presenting this to ChatGPT suggested that present this in a formal way, as a theory or a proposal on human behavior. I'm like, man, wait a second. It seems to me I'm going a little bit too fast. I think first we have to put this to the test. How about we present this on the live stream and then help people try to break it, push back on it, and see if people come up with scenarios where this is supposed to not apply and maybe try to see where it does apply in human situations. And then I can probably think about presenting it in a formal way as a proposal for human behavior. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, man, probably I'm being naive or maybe I'm into something here that could be of value for humanity and make a little money in the way. Always talking about money. I don't know. I think in a world that is economical, sadly, money is very important. I think that whatever you're wearing on your body right now or you're eating is gonna be bought with money. That's the status of the world right now. So I don't know what happened with everybody that was putting these Bible verses as something that, I don't know, we're supposed to make something out of them. Proverbs 15:29, the Lord is far from wicked, but he hears the prayers of the righteous. Sounds like a novela, soap opera. The righteous and the wicked. You're going to hear the prayers of the righteous, and the Lord is going to be far from the wicked. No, I'll stay away from this toxic information. I don't see any good value in, defining people and who's righteous and who's wicked. I don't see the value. Very problematic. But it makes some people feel good about themselves. So you're not going to be able to convince them otherwise. I'm just going over some of these messages. Diva, don't play. Javier, you always discount or brush off when many different people share with you that God is real and he actually reveals himself in such an obvious way to each of us that have received the Holy Spirit. Diva, I think that is so accurate, at least in my life, when that's why I try to stay away from telling people that they are something or doing something, because I try to understand myself and ask myself, wait a second, does whatever this person is telling you is bothering you? Why? You feel like calling this person what? And at that moment, I make the connection. I'm like, wait a second, I'm exteriorizing something about myself that I don't like. And because I cannot see it in myself or choose not to see it, I'm exteriorizing this and seeing it on another person. So this person is presenting something about myself back to me, because it seems to me that you don't want to engage in any other conversation that does not point or agree with your belief in the God. This is basically what you're telling me right now, that I'm brushing off your information. I have listened for countless hours in silence, people preaching to me, and I respectful listen to people, stay quiet, they finish. I try to analyze the information. I don't feel it. I don't connect. I don't see the clarification anywhere. So I start asking questions. But it seems to me like in your case, you don't do this. I think that you came to the conclusion that you hold the truth and nothing is going to change your mind or your heart in relationship to the God. So, what makes you think that anybody would like to get engaged in a conversation with you when after 5 minutes of listening to you, someone that, can think and really quickly understand that you close your mind, that's it, which is understandable because you have apparently an intense, moment with God, but again, which is nothing of value for anybody else in this world but yourself. Diva Don't Play It writes, God is real in reality, and you can experience him in real time. Diva Don't Play, I don't want to experience God. I don't feel good experiencing God. I don't feel right experiencing God when I'm witnessing kids being massacred, destroyed, their parents dying. I don't feel good. Sorry. God is gonna come and do something. I will tell God, please, if you're gonna take your time to come from the outside of the universe to give me a good feeling, please do that with other kids that need it. Don't do it to me. Let me continue feeling bad, please. And go, all those kids that lost their life in the Venezuela earthquake, all those kids that 5 minutes earlier were playing with their parents or, with their brothers and sisters, and 5 minutes later, they are alone in life, no more family. God, go to that kid and help that kid. Don't come with me with good feelings. Don't change me. Don't give me a new heart. Because if you give me a new heart, I'm going to feel like shit. I'm going to feel extremely selfish that I got a new heart while that kid has no parents and is alone in the entire life and probably be disappeared in a hospital and end up, only God knows where. Oh no, that's why I see very problematic that anybody, a believer, will offer me to join the club of God, of feeling good with God, when there's people that are going through non-imaginable situations right now, especially kids. I don't feel good. Leave me with my destroyed life, with my, bad heart. Leave me like this. I don't want to feel good. I don't want to feel better than any person that went through that horrible situation, life changed in a negative way of the earthquake in Venezuela. I don't want to feel any better than any kid that went through that situation and gonna have to feel bad their entire life. And look at me, I got a new heart from God. No. Just to think about it, I don't know. No. Diva writes, Javier, like since January 1st, 2021, I don't think or hope God is real, but I absolutely 100% know he's real. That's how amazing God is. Javier, but you still keep saying God is not real. It's just some ambiguous feeling of good, but that's completely wrong. Javier, but if there's no, I don't say that God is not real. I don't know if there's a God. I don't know if there's no God. I just really doubt that the God of the Bible is real. Sounds very extremely fake to me. Diva don't play right up here, but if there's no God, what is or would be the solution to these people or kids dying? If there's no God, then it's what it is. We live, we die, and it's all over. That's way more depressing. You're jumping from one conclusion to another extreme conclusion, and you will do that because you will not want to make stops in between, because that will put you in a situation that you can start putting things together and understand the map, but you don't want to analyze the map. You just want to jump from point A to point B. You want to jump from yourself to the God is real. So that's why you say these things, that if there's no God, then nothing has meaning. And to your question, but there is no God, what is or would be the solution to these people or kids dying? I think that probably if it would have been a different humanity point or state in life, probably people would not be living in those horrible buildings in that horrible area where it's prone to earthquakes. It seems to me. Probably right now there will be less people praying for them and more people taking action towards helping all these kids. And I cannot avoid, even some of the videos that I watch, I had to swipe before the video finishes because it just breaks me, breaks me. Some of the stuff that these kids are going through. And I don't know. I think about my family. I'm like, man, this life has to change, because right now this happened even when the God has been out. for thousands of years, and look at what happens right now. These kids have no solutions. Probably we come up with our own solutions as human beings without stopping believing in the God, but no so involved in humanity. I think we will be better. We will be living better lives. Maybe half of the energy that we spend in this life goes toward the ether, the obscurity, towards the invisible God. Probably we can use that energy to help other people, to come up with better solutions for the problems that we are experiencing in life right now. If I don't play Javier, you have said multiple times that God is not real. God of the Bible, Allah, also, I don't think it's real. I really extremely doubt it. That there is no God whatsoever, I don't know that. And I have never been to the ends of the universe to find out if there's a God or not. So I cannot say that with confidence. But the God of the Bible, it seems to me that is extremely fake. I'm not convinced by this God of the Bible or Allah or Buddha or any God from Voodoo or Santeria or any of the other religions. If I don't play also right, Javier, you say we just want or get the good feeling from believing God is real. Not that we actually have real personal relationship with God in reality, but you can believe what you choose to. I think that I have explained this more in detail in this live stream than other live streams, that you get data from God, from a God. Get data from a book about a God. When you evaluate that information and you see that it agrees with some of the negative emotional states that you have in your life, you connect that data to that emotional state in order to move that emotional state to a positive emotional state. And that's how you get to take action towards the God that was presented to you as data from a book. And that's how you end up feeling like the God is real and feeling good towards the God. If you ever tell me that God is real without your feelings being involved, there's extremely more chance for me to believe you. But as in right now, it seems to me that this is an emotional game. This is an emotional benefit that you're getting from getting data that makes sense to your life. It gives meaning to your life to the point that you were able to disassociate negative feelings towards some data or scenario that you have, and you were able to swap them for something that is good for you, something that feels good to you. But it seems to me you do not want to engage in these conversations because the conversation could present the risk that you start to understand that we're not talking about a real God. And I think that you seeing that possibility, you don't want to get even close to having these conversations. Nope. You can run the risk of going back to feeling bad, and you're not willing to do that. You're not going to pay that price just because some guy in the internet is asking questions, or some dudes in the chats are asking questions. You're not going to give away something that makes you feel good, makes you feel extraordinary, just because some guys are confused, or you see them as confused about life and they don't understand how good it feels to be loved by God and love God. It's always about feeling good. Diva don't play right, Javier. Logically, if there was the true God who actually never revealed itself, then obviously it wouldn't care what we think or don't think about it, right? But if God is personal like we are, Diva, I don't understand that message very well. When anybody tells me that God reveal himself to them, I think this is something that is like illustrative, or they get a sense that God revealed himself, but it's not revealed like I'm going to reveal my phone to you and you can see it. No, we're not talking about that reveal. I actually think that believers use the word revealed uh, as something like more like a cliche. It's not really revealing anything. And if you still want to use the word reveal, God revealed himself through a feeling, something that you felt. Didn't see the guy, never heard him, never touched him, never smelled him. It's something that you felt, which at the end could be the devil deceiving you. What time is it? 2:30. 30 more minutes. Let's see. Diva don't play. Then Javier, then I would believe this God would reveal himself to us for the purpose of having relationship with him. It makes sense to me. Diva don't play. If that was the case, then God is not immutable. That would mean that God is changing from not having a relationship with you with having a relationship with you. How could that be with something that is immutable? Like you're having a relationship with a rock. How is that possible? God is the rock, right? You're having a relationship with a rock. God is not able to change. If he changes, then he's not God. We're going back to the contradictions that we have mentioned in the past few live streams. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not trying to reject God or the idea of God, but I can see contradictions when I see them. I can distinguish, I can analyze, I can think critically. And even if that will be the case, a God that has everything have a relationship with you for what? What for? Diva don't play right, Javier. So I'm making up my personal experience of receiving the Holy Spirit exactly on January 1st, 2021. You all wouldn't even know me if God hadn't me born again. Think about it. I'm not saying that necessarily you're making it up. I think that your experience, the way you describe it, you're being honest about it. But it seems to me that you could be mistaken by putting a label to this what happened to you as being God. And you might be running the risk that it could be something that you simply don't understand it. But because the associations that you have with what happened to you and the information of the God, you have come to a conclusion, which in my view, I think there could be possibly more value for yourself and for humanity if we can understand what really happened to you that night. Which again, I'm not saying that you're making it up. You seem to be honest about what happened to you. I just don't connect the God with what happened to you. And even if that was the case, that was God, I don't see the value. I do not see the value that he's giving certain people a new heart, while other people's lives, especially kids, are being destroyed. But destroyed in a way that you cannot get into your mind. Mr. Crypto Lee. Diva don't play, but again, a spiritual being of a devil can only exist with an all-powerful God who could create it. No God, then there's no devil. If I don't play, I don't believe in the devil. I don't think there's a devil. But it seems to me that this devil and God thing, or devil and Jesus thing, sounds to me very much like few states. The devil serves a purpose. I made a live stream that talks about how God, if God is real, will never ever will get rid of the devil, because the devil serves a purpose. Out of Babylon, have you ever heard of mind over matter? Or I think, therefore I am? What is the mind to be over matter? What is a thought that I actually am, that I think? And yet you struggle with God? I struggle thinking that the God of the Bible is real. Yes, absolutely. I don't see it. Hersey 98. Oh, Hersey 98 just erased the message. I was about to read it. Out of Babylon, love is patient, kind, shows no ill will, long suffering, etc. God, Hersey 98 says, God goes, or I guess God speaks to us through his word. Other believers, prayer. Problem with that, Hersey 98, is that people can use the word of God to run scams, cults, control people, abuse people. And it's extremely hard who's using the word of God in an honest way or not. So you can use the word of God to harm other people or do good. Out of Babylon, our love has mutated into hate. Whatever we do, I think if God is real, we can blame God because he's the one who created us. Maybe next time he creates us, maybe don't create us with the capability to be hateful if he's going to punish us. Out of Babylon, man had created the carnal mind to destroy it. Man had created the carnal mind to destroy it. Oh, God is not the only one that creates. We also create. We are creators like God. And we compete with God in creation. Out of Babylon says we are the God of the Bible. What? I don't think out of Babylon that probably Diva or Hersey 98 or anybody else will agree with you. Hersey 98, demanding physical evidence for a non-physical God creates a paradox, as a spirit cannot be measured by material tools. So, with that information, can we conclude that God is non-existent? God doesn't exist? Because we exist? Or he's just not physical and he lives in the nothingness? How does that work? It's non-physical how people can have a personal relationship with God. When the word personal talks about a person. All confusing to me. Diva don't play, Javier. What happened to me was reading about in Jeremiah 31, 31, 34, and John 3, 3. in those talk about getting a new heart from God. And I remember when I used to read the Bible, man. Wow. Out of Babylon, that's true. The Bible is evidence of people using the name of God to do evil. Wow, did you hear that? Hersey 98 out of Babylon is saying that the Bible is evidence of people using the name of God to do evil. You can use the name of God to do evil. You can use God to do evil. Out of Babylon writes, how about simply owning up to our mess? No, I don't think we're capable to do anything outside of what God allowed in His creation for us to make. If we can make a mess, God had to make it first in order for us to have the possibility to create a mess. And besides that, how about we can make a mess, but then not be punished eternally for that? It doesn't make sense. Seems to me very screwed up. Verse 98, no, God is not a physical human being. He's a spirit. But then when people say that they have a personal relationship with God, they have a personal relationship with a spirit. And this spirit moves around from person to person, or he lives in millions of people at the same time, and at the same time he's outside of time and space, but he's in time and space in the people's hearts. And he talks to many people at the same time. Still extremely confusing. Out of Babylon, and I told you, Clearwater's truth is here. Most Christians will not agree with me. Yeah, I don't think Diva is gonna agree with your truth. He thinks that the truth is another truth that doesn't align with your truth. Out of Babylon, I am banned from Christian Bible chat sites. Whoa, more than one site? What have you been doing? Oh, this is plural. Yeah, you don't align with the doctrine, get out of here. We only want to be taught what the book says. No questions, no different thinking, no expanding, no exploration, no discovering new things. Just get your head in the book and believe what the book says. If you don't, you're banned. Out of here. Gone. See ya. Try to be smart somewhere else. Go ask questions somewhere else. Not here. You can express your views. You can tell us what you think. Even when I agree or don't agree. Verse 898. Try reading the Bible, Javier, from Genesis to Revelations. Maybe you will understand God better. No, verse 898. I already tried that. You know, I said many times on my live streams that I have my own Bible. I don't remember which type of Bible it was. The only thing I remember that the cover was black. And I like to sit down at night to read my Bible. But it only took reading some of the deep verses, the unknown verses, to find out that the whole thing, you know, just follows apart. Hersey 98, out of Babylon is crazier than a bed bug, Javier. Um, I I think that I think that out of Babylon has his own views. Even when I don't agree with his views, I think it's interesting that he's trying to understand things, coming to his own conclusions. I don't know. I think it's interesting to listen to people different views. As long as they do it respectfully, I don't have to agree. If I don't play my truth, it's all in the Bible. If it ain't Bible, I don't touch. It don't touch my life. Yeah, Diva, don't play, and you're proud to say that, my friend. You're basically saying your truth depends on what someone else is telling you. That makes sense, because you had an experience. But boy, I would not do that. I would not let my life be touched by the Bible. That's crazy. Verse 98, the Bible warns that false teachers are deceitful figures who secretly introduce destructive heresies, twist scripture to suit their desires, and are often driven by greed and pride. Verse 98, the interesting thing is that the Word of God, the Bible, can be used for negative things. That's problematic. I think the Word of God should be immutable. Nothing can change it. You cannot use it for bad. It should be powerful. It should be clear. It should be transparent. But no, you can use it to harm people. Verse 98 also writes, Jesus described them as wolves in sheep's clothing, urging believers to recognize them by their underlying fruit or lifestyles. Verse 98, hopefully, you don't have to. You're going to listen to me for 1 minute, okay? And just listen and just throw away if what I'm going to tell you doesn't make sense to you. If Jesus described them as wolves in sheep's clothing, that seems to me that they are attacking, they're being the wolf, and that means that someone else is going to be the victim. There's something wrong with that. Because if that supposed victim is well informed about how humans operate and the possibility of someone trying to take advantage of them based on them or that person thinking that you lack knowledge, they will not be able to take advantage of you. So they will not be able to be a wolf and you will not be able to be a sheep. So I think that's one of the teachings that I don't think are beneficial for humanity. How about you make responsible, knowledgeable human beings in order for them not to be sheep of anybody? Then there will be no wolves, no possibility to be wolves. Someone believes in God and follow the Bible, you could be prone or being exposed to be taken advantage of. Also, I don't think it's a good idea to be trying to see who show their fruit. No, I think you have to be focusing on yourself to see your fruit. And then nobody takes advantage or eats your fruit. All right, 12 more minutes and we're done with this live stream on this beautiful Friday night. Out of Babylon, exactly. All will be saved. Looks like foolishness. What? Out of Babylon? Out of Babylon wrote exactly, all will be saved. Looks like foolishness. Okay, Hersey 98, but listening to you talk, we can tell you have not read it through. To get a full understanding, you have to read it in context, not taking a verse here and there and thinking you know what it says. Hersey 98, you know, if I take my child years in church and take the years that I was a believer when I was older, what is it gonna take me to come to the conclusion, same conclusion I know right now? 20 years more, or I don't know, 5 years reading the Bible back and forth to understand that there's whoever wrote that knew about field states, and they're able to get people to do things that they normally will not do. But by presenting this information, you can get them to do, you can get them to go in a certain direction. I think once you understand who's behind the curtain on certain things in life, you're not gonna be trying to enjoy the function, the presentation, because you know who's behind the curtain. You're trying to enjoy someone singing when you know that the person in front of the curtain is not doing the singing, someone is behind. Why would you end up years trying to see how good or understand how good the person sings when you know they're not singing? Out of Babylon, truth is free. All who have lived will die, and all will be saved. Period. Free. Saved from what? By whom? Diva, don't play at Out of Babylon. Do you believe every single human being will go to heaven and nobody will end up in hellfire? Yes or no? I think Diva, don't play. I think Out of Babylon agrees with Wes Huff. And by the way, Diva, do you agree with everything that Wes Huff says? Verse 98, so you wanted God to make robots and humans, Javier? I don't know what you mean by that question, honestly. So you want God to make robots and humans? Why would God have the necessity to create something, and what for? Before talking about what I want, let's talk about God, what God wanted at that moment that he decided to create things. What was he thinking? What was he experiencing? Because starting from that point, I don't understand anything else. We're talking about supposed to be immutable. God doesn't change. He's the rock. A rock not changed like that, like, I'm gonna do something else. I don't even know if there's a God. I'm not sure. I don't think the God of the Bible is real. But why would I want a God that I don't know that is real to do things, a robot or a human? That doesn't make sense to me. Verse 98, we're always learning, Javier. Verse 98, when you say that as a believer, you're always learning about God and the Bible. That's not real learning. Whatever you're learning from what other people are saying to you, because that's what the Bible is. Other people telling you about a God. Sunnyside 1999. Hello, happy Friday. Not convinced. Bible was vague. Sunnyside, I'm going to a hell I don't believe in. Am I going to a hell I don't believe in? Apparently, from the believer's point of view, Diva, don't play at Out of Babylon. The Bible and Jesus Christ himself declares most humans Most human beings will end up in hellfire and few human beings will be saved. Wow, that's not very encouraging. Out of Babylon, that makes no sense. Taking it in context, these are letters and scrolls written from and to someone who lived 1,000 of years, supposedly. Out of Babylon continues, besides, I will only eat what I like, including what's in the Bible. I like the God who saves all. Ooh, out of Babylon, you are a rebel. That's interesting. Out of Babylon, what he wrote there. Out of Babylon continues, all will be saved. Death will have no victory. Out of Babylon, you are in accordance with what Westhoff says. Westhoff says that everybody at the end, everybody's going to go back with God. Excuse me. Verse 98, show us a Bible verse that says that out of Babylon. People don't play out of Babylon. Get that version. You can get you the verse for what I'm saying. Matthew 7, 13, 14 for 1. Out of Babylon. Oh, people are, believers are taking their verses out. Matthew 7, Deuteronomy 32. So out of Babylon writes, Deuteronomy 32:22, for a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. Ibadon places Matthew 7, which verse 98. So you reading books that others wrote or listening to others speak on certain information is learning any differently than a believer. Verse 98. So you reading books that others wrote or listening to others speak on certain information is learning anything any differently than a believer? Of course, A98. If you read from the Quran, from Buddha, from other religions, and you read from other people's experiences relating to spirits or DMT or, mushrooms or anything, I don't know. Yes, I think that's gathering way more information than just reading the book called the Bible, which pretty much everybody that wrote in that book put the information aligned with the belief in God. And it seems to me that it's extremely changed. Probably the initial message is not there anymore. Sunnyside writes, death is inevitable and people use their favorite God to cope with that fear of dying. Sunnyside, this is what I'm referring to, the science of human feel states. Exactly. People have a negative feel state when it relates to mortality. They get the data of a God that is offering eternal life. They connect that data to their negative feel state, and they are able to move to a positive feel state thanks to the data, finding value to the data, and suddenly, voila, the God feels real. Sunnyside continues, people enjoy and live life today. Tomorrow is not promised. And life, what a mystery. Verse 98, yes, I was saying that, I like to read other people's view, hear other people's view, and take what I think is beneficial and what is not, discard it. Out of Babylon writes, whatever hell is, it don't get no lower than this. Old or New Testament verse. And that's interesting out of Babylon. You're a believer, but you're a believer in a different way. Seems to me you're not a believer that is totally convinced by the Bible. You're your own way believer. Verse 98 out of Babylon, Matthew 7, 13, 14. He warns to enter through the narrow gate because the path to destruction is wide and heavily traveled, whereas the road to life is narrow and found by only a few. Seems to me that the path of God, the roads of God are very narrow and very difficult. I see a lot of field states in this book. Diva don't play right. Out of Babylon, even Javier, when he is very adamant that he doesn't want to spend eternity with God, God will force Javier to be stuck in his presence forever. So my free will is out of the window. There's your free will. You're forced to be with God. Even when I don't want to. I find this conversation so interesting, man. This is what I'm referring to her say 98. You know, listening to other people's views. Here we have apparently a believer that doesn't believe entirely align with what the Bible presents. It seems to me that probably he finds some of the verses in the Bible problematic. I don't know. That seems to me a little bit more honest. Out of Babylon writes Psalms 86, 13, for great is thy mercy towards me, and thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell. Out of Babylon writes, I understand because I hold no fear. All will be saved. I don't know. Man, it's been 3 hours. So we're pretty much closing the live stream here in 2 minutes. I understand because I hold no fear. Okay, so out of Babylon writes, you believe in Jesus and will die knowing he has the power to prevent it. That is broad. Verse 98 to Out of Babylon, are you a Muslim? And Out of Babylon responds, no, I search for Christ. Verse 98. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. Even when I don't agree with Out of Babylon and most of his views, I find it interesting and quite interesting that he seems to be a believer in God and Jesus, but he's not totally convinced in the way or the information from the Bible. I don't know. My humble opinion is that I see that more honest, because normally for a believer, everything from the Bible is true, is the truth. And everything. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. And her saying 98 is telling Out of Babylon, taking verses out of context. You see, if the information doesn't align with your belief, you gotta label it somehow. It's out of context. It's the devil. It's deceiving. It's misinformation because it doesn't align with what I believe. But anyways, it's Friday night. I'm out of here. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Hersey 98, Out of Babylon, Diva, Sunnyside, Cryptoly, and everybody that participated on the live stream. Everybody that, I don't know, probably no longer here. Thank you so much. Have a great Friday night, and I'll be seeing you again on Monday night with another great topic. Have a good one.